Greetings from the St. Louis airport, headed to Kansas City. This is AV Renee KC, and you are listening to and watching the AV Life.
Hello from Southern California. I am Murphy Daly, AV Veteran Project Manager and author of this soon-to-be-released AV Project Manager Handbook. You are joining us. You can watch us and you can hear us here in the AV Life.
James here, writer for the Higher Ed Digital Magazine, IT and AV Call. I'm a board member, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
And hi, I'm your host, Tim Van Wert, also Senior Project Supervisor with Rutgers University, also HETMA board member, also the confirmed tallest man in higher ed AV, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life. Yeah, sorry to my friend Chewy. I have we've confirmed with Joe Way that I am the tallest man in higher ed AV. So but we
so
are
stickers next year. We need new stickers.
So stickers, yeah, stickers, and we'll yeah. And I have no room on my laptop, as I put out on Twitter. Like I had to cut the HETMA one and the higher ed AV media one to fit on my laptop back, because I wasn't going to take the old ones off, because it's like a history lesson right now. It's like you see where we're going and where we've been, so I wasn't about to do that.
I just put all my new ones on my iPad, so my Mac still has all of my old ones.
There you go. Yeah, I should have expanded to another device. So I guess that's what I'm going to have to do next time. So, all right, how are we all doing now that we're back from Infocomm? Everyone's rested up. We're feeling good.
Doing great.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say rested up. I got back on the plane Tuesday morning, but this is just a busy month in the education space for us for shows. So I'll be home tonight late, and then be home a week, and then out to the next, heading to ISTE down in New Orleans next week. Okay. So
I'm gonna have to say this doesn't apply to James, but can anyone else get over the hair situation? That desert air with the heat, it baked my hair in ways I cannot describe.
That was bad. Still dealing with that.
Yeah,
too.
I can't. I was gonna say I can't.
You're like,
yeah, I can't feel that either.
It's just dry. Everything is just dry out there in the desert. Yeah. No matter how much water you suck down, it's just never enough when you're 20,000 steps a day, right? And going. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I hate how many people end up getting sick. But man, I wouldn't trade that week. Heat, dry hair, all that. It was just it was a great week. I guess I was just so excited to be there after being gone for so many years. And so
it was definitely a great week.
Yeah, I think, and we as far as like the higher ed space, we wrapped up with an excellent HETMA event. We talked about the PRISM scholarships more. Natalie Gillespie out of Northwestern received the first Corey Schaefer Award. So we were very excited to present that to her.
That was so cool.
That was cool. Yeah. And, we got to celebrate Corey and all of her accomplishments while we were down there. And that was from the very beginning, from AV Rookie on Tuesday night all the way through. So it was great to be able to do that. Yes, I also feel bad. Out of the, we have a verified 19,681,000 attendees, over 110 countries, and all 50 states were represented. So
wow,
I think those are some awesome numbers. And unfortunately, some people got sick. And there's no rhyme or reason to it, as far as I could see, because I've talked to, hearing what everyone's different stories are versus, their boosted status, their pre-sickness status, whatever it might be. It just seemed to be kind of like the bad luck of the draw, in a way. So
the only thing that I have to say about that is people getting sick. It sucks. Yes, people getting sick is a bad thing, but we cannot blame the show or AVIXA or the,
No.
and we've been dealing with this for some odd years. If you don't know, if you fear, probably the best thing I ever heard was when I worked for the university in New Jersey. Whenever it snowed, you could have a single flake coming down. The phones would ring off the hook, wondering if the college was going to close. And one of our phone operators years ago would always respond when they said that the college was staying open. The people would get mad saying you're putting people's lives at risk. Her response was, if you fear for your life, don't put that decision in someone else's hand. Same with this. We've been dealing with COVID for 2+ years. We all know the risk. We all know large crowds, being around people, this is how it transmit. We all know risk, we put other people at risk if we go to these places, come back. If you fear for that, don't put that decision in someone else's hands to make that choice for you. You make that choice yourself.
It could have been any
1000%.
it could have been any other event that had 19,681 people at it, and it doesn't matter. It's a group of people that and it's
We don't
so
even
I
have to
agree, James.
go. Yeah, we don't even have to go that high. I mean, like up prior to the show, I was taking public transportation to work at in Las Vegas here. So I'm riding the bus with maybe 50, 60 other people. I have no clue where they've been, what they have, and all that stuff. I'm around them for, well, I was on buses probably for 40 minutes sitting there. So, it could be, you can get it anywhere. You plane. Yeah. It was not the show's fault, not Vix's fault.
It was not.
No, it was not. And you know what? I mean, it's something that is gonna be on the regular. It's
On the regular.
We're gonna have to start treating it like we do like the flu and colds. Now I know it's more severe than those. I'm not downplaying it, but
some people are going to take it very seriously, and those people can make the choice to stay home.
I agree. I think when you walk out of your house and you close your front door, you make a risk every day. I mean, you get in your car risking, are you going to get that accident on the highway? Like, we take risks every day. And I think everybody has done what they could to get their vax or their boost or whatever, and maybe take the test with them. I know people that were taking tests every day while they were there just to kind of keep up with it. I mean, whatever you want to do. But I mean, if it's going to be something that if you're immunocompromised, then don't go, and that's fine. But I think to blame anybody. I mean, I stayed at the Palazzo inside the Venetian, and they had a huge trade show there, a jewelry jewelers convention or something. I was in an elevator every time I went up and down to my room with 20 people that were from this other convention. Right? I could have at any time gotten from somebody else and then walked to Infocomm. It had nothing to do with Infocomm or AVIXA, right? Yeah. I mean, or how many Ubers and Lyfts and cabs were we in last week?
It's funny you brought up that line there, Renee, about it's dangerous walking at just walking out your front door, because actually I watched both ways on the plane. I watched different Lord of the Rings movies, and that's actually one of the lines that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote.
Yep, I was gonna say it. You beat me to it, Tim.
So it's a known thing. It's a dangerous business, Frodo. Going out your door, you step into the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where you might be swept off to. Now they're talking more about adventure type stuff, but it's still the same kind of concept, though. So since then, it's a known thing that just any day, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, and how many airports did we all go through? How many airports did 19,000 people go through to get there? I'm at an airport
to all
right
converge
now.
On Vegas. Yeah.
Turn around and look and see how many people are wearing masks at this airport right now, right? It is what it is. And there were so many conventions out there. And I don't like the people that were calling it a super spreader. I'm like, I'm in an airport every week. It's busy. It's busy everywhere.
I called him out on that. And I saw that tweet, and I'm like, let's be careful about using that term. It's like, yes, it's like
Yeah, it's just not fair.
maybe
It's just
by
not
the
fair.
maybe
We're
by
just
the
sitting there.
yeah, maybe by the definition it is one, but like I took precautions when I came home. I isolated from my family. I tested, I PCR tested. And then when I saw all those were negative, and then even after a day or two, I still, like just yesterday, things like started getting back to normal for me, just to make
Yeah.
sure, just to be safe.
Yeah, I mean, even myself, it's like I tested positive with one of those home tests, but I don't feel sick. I have no symptoms. I only took the test because I saw everyone else was posting that they were positive. I'm like, out of respect for my coworkers, I should test just to make sure I'm not bringing it. And yes, I tested positive. So I'm now at home this whole week. And now, knock on wood, my situation allows me to be isolated because I have no family here yet. So I benefit from that. But yeah, I have no symptoms. I feel 100% fine. If I didn't take that test, I would have been going to work.
Mhm.
My throat was sore from hanging around all the smokers.
Oh,
the
yeah.
I
smokers.
wasn't sick. I was like,
That's separate. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
that's
and I had it.
another thing.
I had it because of the dry air, like
Yes,
that.
that
And
too.
when I, it's basically almost as soon as I got back here to Jersey, and that first overnight, I felt like immediately better because my body was like, "Ooh, moisture." It's like
Yep. The dry
moisturize
air,
me.
it's actually out. It's allergy season here in Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
Same here.
So, I mean, what's actually funny is the week before Infocom, the day that say, hey, it's allergy season in Las Vegas, I actually had a sore throat and my nose was congested. So allergies hit me. And now, like I said, that I dealt with that. But again, everything's been fine. I've been dealing. So it is what it is. We all take
Yeah.
our risks.
And if I were a betting man, which I'm not, but I would bet that if we all were to do these tweets again in about, I don't know, 4 days or a few more days, and it's been a week when we all get back, that everybody's back to pretty close to normal, right? And I know that I got some hate on the Twitters with the conference crud, but for 15 years I've been going to Infocom and coming home with some sort of crud and flus and colds and all that stuff. This will be the first Infocom, which I should knock on something, that I didn't come home with anything.
Well, that's
so weird.
And not even just conferences. Like I've gone on retreat weekends with like 60 people, and I still come home with a cold. Like it's just being in close contact with people. Like it's
people
just
are filthy.
people are
Well, yeah, on a normal year,
people.
but imagine of the 19,000 people, how many people hadn't been out in a while? Like I've been on the road and I've been going to conferences and I've been out traveling again, but look at the people who hadn't been out. And it's like, you got to remember that it takes your immune system a minute to get that back up and running, no matter how healthy it is. I mean, look at Amelia. She's got to be the most healthy person in all the AV tweets land of the world, like the most exercise, and like, and she ended up with it. I'm like, that's how you know that, that's just, it's way of working itself through the world, right? I mean, I'm glad she's okay, right?
If you yeah, I am glad. I'm glad she is too. But it's funny, if you look at the TV series Parks and Rec, the part that's played by
Rob
Lowe, he's like a super athlete, super healthy, and there's an episode about the flu, and he gets it. And he gets it so bad because he even says, it's like, my body's like a finely tuned machine, and you put like a grain of sand in it and it comes shutting down. And it's like, that didn't really happen to Amelia, but that's where my brain went with that whole thing, is like, sometimes, your immune system just needs to be ready.
I gotta say, calling back to what Renee said, how we've all been shut down. I personally, I was working from home even before, and I'm not a traveler like you, Renee. You go out and shake the hands and hug the people, and you do that so well. But I'm like at home with my computer. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I do like people. I think they're okay. And seriously, I'm like, I'm going to need to make more room to be around people You need to like put that, because I was like, oh, I kind of almost feel like I was missing an important mineral or something. Like, oh, I need this more than I thought. I was like people anemic or something.
Well,
Well,
I'm glad
I
you
think
stuck
people
with
also,
me because I got you around.
Oh,
I got around about.
yeah.
I will say, I think the general population people have forgotten how to people. Like we talked about that. And I will say my experience with AV sweeps, we were fine. I feel like we all kind of knew what we needed to do and we were all very careful. And, there were those awkward fist bump, high fives, handshake moments. We all had those. But when I got like on the airplane, personal space was gone. Like nobody understood that. It was like and like people were like leaning into me, and I had an aisle seat specifically because tall. I like
Yeah.
to put
The
my legs
legs.
out, and um
TPOAD.
exactly. So um but it's like, yeah, the general population of people forgot how to be sociable people. So I think that plays a part in it as well. And that's also because 2 years of being home and not being out, and so you forget certain things.
I drove. So it was also like, oh, there's a world over the horizon. And I like felt the whole way there, like, oh yeah. And I went into the city of Las Vegas, which is its own alternate reality.
Hmm.
But it's like, wow, this is like, yeah, I can do this. I do like this, because I was getting kind of like small and like afraid. Maybe I was starting to get a touch of agoraphobia. I don't know. But I'm like, oh yeah, I can do people. I like people.
Mhm,
Not every day, but I should make more of a point to do this.
mhm,
I do have some frequent flyer miles built up. I got that credit card that gives you miles, and I've been going
mhm.
nowhere. I'm like, I should do this. I should go, people. Maybe I should go visit you in Kansas City, Renee.
There you go. You
Come
want to say,
on.
if you want to save them for 4 more years, we could all go catch a soccer game in
Oh,
Kansas City.
How
Wow.
exciting is that? That's so
That
cool.
is pretty awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
definitely.
so we started this conversation before we started recording, but today the FIFA has announced the host cities here in United States, Canada, and Mexico for the 2026 World Cup. So, yeah, the New York, the fake New York, New Jersey area has been put in, even though the stadium's in New Jersey. So it really should be New Jersey, New York, because New York's
Well,
just a supporter.
well, the way I understand it, and I'll go with this if it's actually true, is New York is paying the taxes on it. New
Oh,
Jersey's not. So the land tax and all that stuff, hence why they got the name New York instead of New Jersey, was because they're paying the taxes on it. That's what I was
okay.
told. I don't know how fact that is. I have not
Uh,
dove into it, but that's what I was told.
James is flexing his MBA.
Yes.
I bet that's true.
No, I was gonna say I would
Seems
believe it.
right.
That makes sense. See, that would make sense to me. I understand that. So, you got to give them something for footing the bill, right? Like that. Um, but yeah. So, MetLife has been chosen in the New York, New Jersey area. SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, and Arrowhead out in Kansas City have been chosen among others. But those are the three I definitely do know about. So we're all very excited, and just I'm gonna putting it out there right now. If any of our sponsors have tickets to any of these games, we will always go to a match, and we will represent your organization.
That's right.
I'll be working on that as soon as I can.
There you go. Yep. So, but all right. Well,
So back to the show.
yeah.
Oh, I'm
Back to the
sorry, Tim.
show. Yes. No, 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 no. I was trying to come
It was
back
my
to it.
first. It was my first. So I kind of have a sense of what it's about. And I'm trying to organize it all. Like, how do I just I want to write a piece about it. Like, hey, what is it? And I'm thinking there were the two halls, and the one hall was very display and the other hall was very sound. I don't know if that was specified, but that was my impression. And then there was all the little surprises, what I call the deep cuts. Go in like what is this? Oh, what's this crazy thing? And I just kind of asked people, and I was shaking them down for maybe good swag, but also like, what have you got? Tell me about your things. And there were you know, categories of things, and it was interesting to see what it was about and to see what kind of people were there and what they were willing to talk about. So it was great to
and you're
see what it was.
Yeah, you're right, Murphy. There was an intention to have a section that was video. There was a section for collaboration and audio, and so that they specifically laid out that way. I will say my biggest mistake was not paying attention to that. Ooh, excuse me. Because on the first day, I booked myself back to back in West and North. So I had to like cut one off early and to make it to the other one. And luckily I knew, it was my Epson rep, and I'm very close to my Epson rep because we talk all the time. And he was like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it." It's like, I'm on my way. I promise.
Yeah, and that's one thing I still laugh about is I know I was taking Tim to see something at the Audinate booth. We were one booth away and got stopped by Gina. And great thing, not complaining about that. We had a conversation with Gina. It was awesome. And then we looked at our clock and we were like, wait, we got to go over to the North Hall and meet Renee and do our booth tour. Like I said, we were one booth away from Audinate and we never got there.
Never got there. So I'm putting out a verbal apology to Frank Patakala because I tried to get there to see him and I couldn't get there. So I'm putting it out there that I apologize for not making it. But yeah, that was the thing. And it wasn't just Gina. Like there were other times too. Like I'd be wandering the halls and then I would see somebody or somebody would see me, and that's the nature of this I think that was just the nature of this event is
Felt like
that
it had to be that way. No.
What you mean it had to be like
I'm agreeing with you. That was the nature of the event. Yes, it felt like it
yes.
had to be
Oh
that way.
yeah, that was kind of like we all kind of knew that's what we were getting into when we got there, and it came to fruition for sure. So
well,
yeah.
I wasn't sure. I'm like, I don't know. Are there, because it felt like there were a bunch of secret things that I didn't know about. Then like, I can't figure this out. I'm going to follow people who seem to know where they're going and hope that we are going somewhere good. And for the most, yes, it was totally great. But I'm like, there was just so much. I could see people. Now, Nancy Blanchard, our fellow crew member, was also there, and she is away doing Disney. So when I go to Disneyland, the land, I don't know what the world is like, but the land, we have strategy like, okay, this is what we're going to do and plans of attack and how we're going to get to see everything, right? It almost feels like that would be good to do for Infocomm too, but it's not quite as, it's not the same because I think every year it changes. Disneyland stays the same place. Like this ride there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I felt like that I would like to do that, but it is
You
vast.
definitely have to go in with a plan. I mean, October was my first Infocom, and I hit the education sessions and hit the floor a little bit, but I really hit the networking parties. And this was my first, I guess you can say, big Infocom. Orlando was a practice run, I guess you can say. And I purposely didn't sign up for any education courses for two reasons. One, with the whole new job, I didn't know what my schedule would be like. Hence, I had to work Monday and Tuesday of that week. But also, I knew I wanted to hit manufacturers during the floor. So I didn't want to be tied up with education courses. I wanted to hit the floor, see my reps, because being a new location. So I made sure I set up those tours with Sharp NEC and some other booths that I had to really start building that relationship there.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, and I kind of did. I made more of a plan this time than I did in Orlando, but this time I think I almost made myself too structured and didn't leave myself the time for the flexibility I did. So I gotta, and I know we talked about that in the last episode, so I'm not gonna elaborate anymore on that. But I would like to go before we get too long and talking about this, because we could come back. Let's go to the PM minute, and I want us to continue our conversation from last episode that we cut short. So let's
Mm.
Murphy, take it away for the PM minute, and we'll go from there.
I've been thinking about this for really big stuff. It can be so overwhelming and kind of terrifying, and something that almost just stops me sometimes, like, oh my God, what is this? But there's a story about do you know the one about how to eat a Jeep?
I've never heard that story.
Yeah.
Story time, yay.
Story time. Well, it was actually in that old TV show MASH.
Mm.
And Radar had somehow determined he was going to eat a Jeep. Well, you break it down into little pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to a huge, enormous task project, break it down into little pieces that you can chew on.
How to eat a Jeep. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Now-
like that.
Project, how to eat a Jeep.
So we actually talked about that on Ask the Programmer. Now, I didn't say how to eat a Jeep
theme.
because I never really enjoyed MASH, so I never watched that. Didn't know that term. But we talked about like how, like, and when I'm tackling a program, say for a huge event room or set, is I take it into small pieces. It's like, all right, well, instead of looking at the full picture saying, you got to control 100 sources and 20 displays, well, you got to turn on a projector. Handle that first. Okay, that's done. Now go on to the next thing. And then sooner or later, you chip away at that huge, massive picture, and it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
Over time.
Yep.
It gets done.
I think that's because sometimes when you look at that big project, you get very much overwhelmed. It's like, and I'm guilty of that. It's like I look at something big and it's like, oh man, like how am I going to manage this? Like it's going to be so much. But then as you start chipping away and taking the different sections, it's like, okay, you get into a rhythm and you start to like, okay, I got this. And then before you know it, you did it, and it's through. So it's funny actually. I hear equate it to like my son today. I had some strawberries that we were having a snack before we took back off after school today, and he grabbed one of the big ones and he went to go shove it in his mouth, and I was like, you don't have to take it all at once there. He's like, take it smaller bites, and he did, and he's 7, so and he's a boy, so the first thought is let me just eat the whole thing, and it's like, and he took some bites. It was like, was that easier? And he goes, yeah, that was better. I was like, yeah, you don't have to take it all at once. And he goes, so it's kind of, that's
Go.
7-year-old project management there. The project is
advice.
finish the strawberry, take small bites.
There you go.
We could have basic project management classes for kids. Get them
Great
ready for their AV futures. There you go.
Speaking
Just
of
like we
which,
were talking about last week.
AVIXA, the women's breakfast, had great swag. Wonderful. And I'm sorry I didn't grab 2 of the water bottles, but I grabbed 1. And that is now my daughter's water bottle. It just broke the Monday
Aw.
after I came back. No. Not she. Both of us always have water bottles. It's an important part of our lives. It's hot around here, so we're always drinking. She always takes her water bottle, and the water bottle of choice before had broken on Monday. And I said, hey, I
Oh,
happen to have this one, which says AVIXA, Women's Breakfast, Women's Council, I think. And that is my little 13-year-old daughter's water bottle of choice.
Nice.
awesome. As I say, I heard that was an absolutely incredible breakfast that morning. Very well attended and very well received. And if you're looking for an organization to donate to, Rosie Riveters is definitely where you need to, talk to Tammy, one of our past guests, and she can help direct you into that way. I do applaud organizations like the Advicists, right? Am I saying that right?
I don't know, but I know
I'm
what
not
you mean.
positive.
The advice
But
is
they're-
by Bradford. Bennett.
Yes, I apologize to those guys for that, but they're giving money to the organization, and there are people that are, they're seeing the value in that, and there is value, and so but we were talking about it last time while we were live at Infocomm, and we were discussing how we could develop at a younger age. Like, what is that going to look like? What would that take? Because we're missing that middle ground of development. I went to a Crestron event on Thursday night, and we were discussing that actually there is an AV minor being created, I believe, at Pace University. I'd have to go back and get all the information. I was rushing between events because that's what was happening. And they're looking to develop it into a major after that. And that'd be great. Now that's college age, which is awesome. But in order to have a high school student know what that would be like, to know to pick that major, that there's got to be something in high school that leads them towards that, or it needs to be part of after school program or something.
Apparently we need
like
to start
that.
a Twitch channel.
We need more
Kids
of
these
that.
days.
I don't know if anyone follows, to bring up Tammy again. Tammy is definitely one of our rock stars, but if you follow her on LinkedIn, she shared a story that I think is what we need more of. And it was about
Absolutely.
a little girl who was a baseball announcer, a play-by-play announcer, and she never thought this was a real opportunity for her until she heard a female announcer during one of the professional games. I'm trying to think of what team it was. And now she knows she can actually make that a career. And that's why representation matters. I even comment on that story is as when I was running the soccer league in my town, whenever the Women's World Cup was happening, we saw an increase of young girls joining sports, especially soccer. But that's what we need. We need these represented. We want to get the diverse young crowd into AV. We need to show them it's a field. We need to show them that the esports is a value career, not just as a gamer, but all the tech behind it. We need to show them that sports announcement or broadcasting is a value field for them, not just on front of the camera, but behind the camera as well.
Well, and I think the big part of that story, and by the way, if anybody hadn't gone to LinkedIn and seen that, they need to go watch that article that she posted. I was in tears. I thought it was so amazing that this little girl put a sign together at the baseball field, right? And the announcer saw her. But what the important point of that is that she became like a mentor to this little girl, right? And she was emotional when she said, this is something that she had to fight so hard all these years. So now this little girl doesn't have to fight as hard. And I think that's the big part of it is, I talked to some people at this conference this week, and it's like, okay, these kids are writing code for games, and they're doing their own little digital signage at their school. But I challenged all these tech directors, but are you letting them know what they can do afterwards? This isn't just what they're doing, after school for an after school program. Have you let them know that this is something they can do as a field of, a career opportunity? He said, we don't really talk about that. So it's kind of a follow through. There was a gal that won one of the door prizes, was a really nice gaming headset and keyboard and all this stuff. And we were talking, and she said, I guess I should probably say this for one of my little gals that comes in, one of the few gals that comes into the gaming lab. And I said, and encourage them to know that there is life after this little fun thing we're doing in high school, right? And anyway, I think that's part of it, is that we need to encourage that this is something you can pursue. This is something you can make a career. This isn't something that, we all are grown up with iPads and iPhones now, and this is just a game to us. This is actually a career you can make. And, it's, again, I was in Arkansas, so there was a lot of, the demographic that we're used to in the AV industry, but there was a lot of women, and there was a lot of younger gals too. I was really proud to see a lot of 20-somethings gals, and I was just like reaching out to them to make sure they knew I've been doing this for a long time. And I went through the fight that you're probably going through, and there's a lot of support out there now for the AVIXA women's councils and the local groups, and so I just think it's about who was talking about it. Maybe Corey Schaefer was talking about, we have to keep talking about it, right? We have to keep talking about it. We have to keep saying, here's the next thing that we need to do. We can't just have a meeting at Infocomm and go, here's this AVIXA Women's Council, it's really great. No, we have to go into our local chapters and continue doing the things. And actually, Erica, who's been on our show several times, her and I were going to start that council in the Kansas City area, and then COVID hit. And so that's all been kind of on hold. But I messaged her just yesterday and said, maybe we should talk about doing one of these events, because LA is getting ready to do one of the Rosie River events. And I said, well, maybe we should kind of piggyback off them, see what they do, take notes, and bring that to Kansas City. I don't have any idea what to do or what we should do, but I think if we got enough notes from the other people that have done these events, why don't we do that here in the Midwest? And instead of doing this once a year, let's carry this on into the local chapters.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that's a good thing. And also, I don't know if you guys listened to the AV Week where they did their Corey Schaefer special. That was really good. And she makes
I got died today. It was so good.
Yeah, and she makes a good point. Females make up a great percentage of the world population. They're 14% in our field.
14%
That is a bad number. And so we need people like me, look like me, the white bald male. Well, I am what I am.
I was gonna say I could shave my head if I really needed to, but yeah.
You're the white tall male. He's the white bald male. You're white tall.
Okay.
We need to step aside and amplify the voices in the back, the females, the minorities, the underrepresented people in the community. Let them speak, because they have value and they have great points. And unfortunately, it's too often that we walk into the booth and you might walk past Renee and say, I need to talk to someone, a male who does X, Y, and Z for Sharp NEC. You know what? Renee is just as knowledgeable, if not more knowledgeable, than some of the male counterpart. Or Murphy, or Alicia with the smooth factor, or Frank Panicotta. There are tons of diversity in our field, and we need to recognize that, get out of our own bias, and let these other voices speak.
Well, that's why I'm so happy that
sorry, Tim, but
you're probably about to where you're gonna go ahead.
Go ahead,
talk
Renee.
with the action, right? Action with the talk with the action. And I'm like, okay, listen, we've got a venue that we can use that Henderson has, Erica's. we've got ideas from all these great women in AVIXA that I think it was the Atlanta chapter that started it. Why aren't her and I doing that in Kansas City? Because we're one of the few women in the AV industry in the Kansas City area. Why aren't her and I going out and doing that? So I kind of put it out for yesterday. I'm traveling, but I'm like, let's challenge that. Let's challenge ourselves to do that for our local area, and why would we not?
And that's, yeah,
Heaven's
like
rubbing
you were
off on
saying that.
me. Sorry, Joe Way.
Yeah.
He's rubbing off
And
on
that's,
me.
yeah. Well, that's what we did at HETMA. We challenged ourselves to reach out and, you know, really not be that bunch of middle-aged white guys, you know, that were running an organization. And that's why I'm very proud that, you know, I'm saddened that BC Hatchett is stepping down as vice chair, but I am super proud and so excited that Erin Moran is stepping in to be vice chair for HETMA.
That's
And that
awesome.
is huge. And she is bringing so much energy into that role. And she has a vision for the future, which
I love that.
it's great. It's gonna be great for us going forward. And it's I just, you know, when
I'd
that
like to point out,
I will say it surprised us because Joe didn't say anything in the way that Joe always does, but it was a good surprise because it was amazing.
It was, and this has been a conversation I would say probably we all on the board had at one moment or another, not as a whole board, but we all have always said that one felt Aaron and even Andy. These are two outstanding board members who are really taking the bull by the horn and running with it. They have voices, they're doing great things. That pass the mic moment that BC did for Aaron at the banquet was the moment. It would have been great that we knew about it because I would love to have captured that better than it was, but that was a awesome moment.
Yeah, it definitely was.
to get down to dollars and cents, HETMA is higher education, right?
Correct.
And higher education got a lot of girls, a lot of females in education. And yet not so much in the tech side. But there was a lot of buyers. In fact, it was interesting to meet more HETMA people at Infocomm. Like, yeah, there were more females, I think, in that area. But also for the manufacturers who might be listening, there's a lot of females who are the ones who sign the checks to buy stuff. There's really a lot. So this is not just a should. This is a benefit to bring women into the front. And so look around. Who hasn't gone to Infocomm before? Who's the person that hasn't gone? Bring 2 or 3 people. Let them go. Let them see what it is. Because if they can see it, you know, there are females who are the ones who, what do? They help run tracking inside sales. There are people who do have them come, even if you think, oh, that's not what they do. Well, maybe because they never had a chance to see. So bring the people, and you will get more trained up. You will fill out the bench, and you will benefit because the women that sign the checks, the powerful women with their powerful checkbooks, are out there waiting to be served.
Yeah, there's a lot of women in power who with the checkbook, and also like Murphy mentioned, there's also females on our own team in the tech field who may be overlooked to go Infocomm. You know, Hope is a programmer out there. She probably has been overlooked. I think she's been to Infocomm, but I think she's been in situations where she might have been overlooked as a programmer. Or someone who knows technical skills. So we need to, again, get out of our own bias and saying, oh, we only need to send, the people who look like us. We need to get out of our bubbles and send those other people, send those voices.
Yeah, and we have to identify them early. That's the other thing too. I'm going back to that because I think that's where it starts. It starts starts at home. It starts at high school, elementary school, whatever it might be. If girls, and I think we're getting better at it, but I think if girls are into the technologies and the sciences, let them do it. Let them short circuit something, let them let them do that, a little shock, from touching wires is not terrible, but
The glorious thing.
exactly. I did it. I got my finger stuck in one of the big C9 light bulb strings once, and I zapped myself because I wasn't paying attention, and maybe that explains some things, but but I tore apart radios and things like that. Like, I wanted to know how things work, encourage that creativity. My sister is doing it with her daughter right now. Like, they're studying rocks, they're studying bugs, and like she's doing everything because my sister's that wildlife person. So she's all about the adventurous stuff. So she's passing that along to her daughter. Just like you are, Murphy. Like, so it's
Speaking of adventurous stuff, I do have to leave in a moment.
yes, I know. Yeah, sorry. But
yeah.
I just want to I just happened to think of this, and we have 4 years to get this off the road. I want to put a challenge out there to a organization, either a manufacturer, women's, the AVIXA Women Council, the Diversity Council, some group out there. Get a tour or get an event during the World Cup 2026 to get young, diverse people in the background. Get them a tour behind the scenes. Get them, because you know what, Panasonic and Sharp NEC and Shure and Crestron and Sennheiser, I'm sure you guys are all involved somehow, somewhere with this event. Bring these underrepresented voices. Get the youth involved with here, because now this is a big event on TV, on our home soil here in the United States. Let's take advantage of it. We got 4 years to make it happen. Let's make it happen.
I'm specifically calling out Panasonic and Sharp NEC because both of them have locations here in New Jersey that are their headquarters. Panasonic's in Newark, 15 minutes away from the stadium. Downtown Newark is 15 minutes away from East Rutherford, taking Route 21. It's a straight shot. I agree. We need to challenge those manufacturers. Panasonic, Sharp NEC from New York, New Jersey area. I want to hear it from you. Crestron, you're in Rockley. You're here in New Jersey too. Let's see it happen. Let's make it happen. It's not inconvenient. We know you guys want to, you guys and girls that are involved want to do it. Let's make it happen, please. I like that, James. Thank you.
That's a great thing, James. And with that inspiring, I have to go.
All right. Bye, Murphy.
Bye.
We'll start to wrap things up here too. Now that it's now the two middle-aged white guys that are left on the show.
Are we saying we need to get rid of?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and we're the last one standing here. But Renee and Murphy are kicking butt in all aspects of their lives. So that's why.
And Nancy, don't forget Nancy.
And Nancy, yes, I'm sorry. And Nancy is too. So is Kim. She is, she's out there, high profile executive with the out of home marketing area. And like I am very proud of our crew, and it's always been like that since before me. I think the AV Life has done a great job about that, and we will continue to do that. That is my pledge, that we will continue to be diverse and inclusive, and we're gonna maintain it that way. And I'm sorry, that Renee and Murphy aren't here to hear that, but that's always going to be my pledge. As long as I'm the host, that's what's going to happen. So, and I would hope, if for some reason I need to stop, and whoever takes over for me, they would continue that as well and keep the crew as it always is, as awesome as it is. But well, James, I think we need to wrap this up.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we hit it.
So thank you to everybody for listening. We'll be back next week recording still titled to be determined as to what we're calling that segment, because I will not use that at this point based on our conversation from a couple weeks back. But and then we're going to take a week off for 4th of July. Then we'll be back. July for higheredav.com is Mental Health Month. So we will be doing an episode regarding that, to be determined on the date. But I do have a special guest lined up for that. So yeah, so look forward to that. It's going to be a fun summer. And it's great because camp is starting in my household over here. So it's all the fun and excitement coming along with that. And yeah, so as this episode seems to be all about, it's about adventure. So as I always say, until our next adventure.